It was my first business trip. Meanwhile, my wife was cheating on me with her true love when the car wash guy pulled a pair of stockings out from under the passenger seat. I was dumbfounded. The stockings were definitely my girlfriend's. But I hadn't driven the car. Sure, I let her drive it. But someone else had been driving her car, right? The stockings were all wrinkled. And when I took them, I noticed several dried, hardened stains. What were those? Any man would understand. A loud buzz filled my mind. I had been on a business trip this past week. She had been using the car the whole time. Today, she wasn't home. I decided to take the car to get washed. But I never expected to stumble upon this shocking, disgusting discovery. Not wanting to think further, I endured the wait as the car was cleaned. Then I sped home as fast as I could. In the underground garage, feeling a mix of emotions, I began reviewing the dashcam footage. I already had an idea of what had happened, but hearing it with my own ears, my body went numb. As if I had plunged into an icy abyss. For a full half hour, Liu Ryan's suggestive moans filled the car. The explicitness left me speechless. I couldn't believe it. The Liu Ryan I knew, who had always seemed so elegant and demure, had such a wild, uninhibited side. God, you're so good at this. Tell me, am I better than your wife? The man's voice sounded familiar, panting as he replied, "Of course it's you. That old hag. I get annoyed just looking at her. She's got nothing on you. Oh, don't pinch me. That hurts. How do I compare to your man? Why would you compare yourself to an ATM? An ATM? So in her eyes, I was just an ATM. My chest burned with fury, about to explode, as I heard Liu Ryan ask the man after they were done, "Are you heading back to the company later, senior?" Senior? It hit me it was him. Liu Ryan's company manager, Chen Jifeng. They graduated from the same university, but he was more than 10 years her senior. And I distinctly remembered, he was already married. A guy who always came across as so upright. I never would have guessed, not in a million years, that Liu Ryan was sneaking around with him behind my back. I couldn't understand why. We had been together for 2 years, and I had given her my all. Since she moved in with me, I covered all our expenses. Every day, I drove her to and from work, worried about her health. I cooked whenever I wasn't working late, remembered every little detail of what she liked and didn't like. I even found a job for her younger brother through a connection, and not long ago, my parents had met hers. Both families were planning our wedding for next year. I sat in the car, sobbing, smoking through half a pack of cigarettes. Just as I was about to head home, Liu Ryan called, "Honey, where did you go? And you took the car too." I went to, wash the car. Why'd you suddenly think of that? Her voice suddenly had a nervous edge. Well, it's the weekend. Is everything okay? Have you finished washing the car? I'm almost home. Alright, come back soon. Before getting out of the car, I suppressed my disgust and stuffed the stockings back under the passenger seat. When I got home, I didn't say a word about what had just happened, but suddenly Liu Ryan mentioned she might have dropped her lipstick in the car and said she needed to go look for it. I'll help you find it. Oh no, no need. I know where it is. She hurried out the door with the car keys. I wiped the smile off my face. 10 minutes later, she came back, looking visibly relieved. "Oh, by the way, honey," she said, "my parents are coming to the city in a few days. They want to have dinner with you to discuss our wedding plans. Make sure you make a good impression, okay?" I knew exactly what that meant. Forget about discussing anything else. The real priority was how much money I could fork over for the bride price. As I looked at her face, I couldn't help but recall how she'd said I was just an ATM. I remembered the filthy things she said with that man in the car. The positions, the expressions. How many times had she slept with him behind my back? Was it always in my car? The worst part was, I had always thought of Liu Ryan as this innocent girl, blushing whenever I made a dirty joke, claiming to hate mistresses and cheaters. But in the end, she was nothing more than a mistress to a cheating scumbag. The more I thought about it, the more it drove me insane. I could feel the expression on my face twisting into something darker. The thought of revenge grew stronger. Initially, I wanted to find an excuse to say I wouldn't go, but when the words reached my lips, I changed my mind. Don't worry about our wedding plans. I'll make sure your parents aren't disappointed. The next day, when I checked the car, the stockings under the passenger seat were gone, and the dashcam footage from that night? Also erased. But it didn't matter. I had already backed everything up. I started looking into Chen Jifeng's background. Turns out, not only does he have a wife, but he also has 2 kids. At home and in public, Chen Jifeng had a stellar reputation. He was the friendly, approachable boss, the devoted husband, the doting father. His life seemed picture perfect, which made me even more disgusted. I hired someone to follow him for a few days, although I didn't catch him meeting up with Liu Ryan. I found out he was secretly keeping a university student on the side. He rented her an apartment and visited her whenever he pleased. This guy was really living the high life. I activated a new phone number, and every night at 2 a.m., I called Chen Jifeng. When he picked up, I said nothing. After 3 nights of this, he swore at me and blocked the number. So I used that same number to text his wife. I didn't say much, just sent 3 words. Old hag, I don't know if his wife confronted him, but Chen Jifeng was clearly losing his mind. He started calling me back. I ignored his call, so he sent me a text, *** your mom. Who are you? I don't even know you. What do you want? I'm warning you. If you harass us again, I'll call the police. I chuckled. Would he really dare to call the police? This strategy of stirring the grass to scare the snake seemed to work quite well. Chen Jifeng hadn't shown up at work for several days. Could it be because his wife was causing trouble at home? I secretly checked Liu Ryan's WeChat. Feigning concern as a colleague, she asked why Chen Jifeng hadn't come to work, but he didn't reply at all. During dinner with Liu Ryan's parents, she seemed visibly down. Her expression was listless, constantly staring at her phone, barely saying a word. A few glasses of wine down, her father's face turned red and he started slurring his words as he spoke to me. Chu Yunfei, we, as her parents, are really happy with you and your mom. Our daughter has been pampered since childhood. She's never suffered. We've always given her the best we could. Now, we just hope she marries into a good family. We don't want her to be wronged. We want someone who will treat her well and take care of her. I nodded, uncle. You're right. Don't worry, I will always take good care of Yanin. I will never let her down in this lifetime. His mother interjected, I don't know what your family plans, but on our side, the bride price for marrying off a daughter is set. She raised 2 fingers. Of course, I wasn't naive enough to think she meant 20,000 yuan. But he really dared to ask for 200,000. I had already looked into the customs in Liu Ryan's family. It's typically only around 66,000 to 88,000 yuan. But I didn't say anything. I just nodded and agreed. That's right, that's right. Her mother continued, my daughter has a high education. A great job, she's 1.7 meters tall, and so beautiful, right? Not to mention, we've worked so hard all these years to raise her. Auntie, you're absolutely right. I understand everything. Her father let out a drunken belch, then gave my shoulder a heavy pat. I cut him off. So I discussed it with my parents. For the wedding, my family will offer 500,000 yuan as the bride price. Uncle, auntie, what do you think? Her mother was so excited that she lost her grip on the teacup, and it fell to the floor. 500,000 yuan, is that okay? Her father's eyes widened in shock. instantly sobering up. Liu Ryan's eyes finally lifted to meet mine. She stared at me in disbelief. I took her hand. Yanyan is sweet and sensible. She treats me so well. We've been together for 2 years. Our relationship is solid. Uncle, auntie, you've raised such a wonderful daughter. And now she's marrying into my family. It's only right that we offer more in the bride price. Xiaofei, I knew my judgment wasn't wrong. Entrusting Yanyan to you, her mother and I can be completely at ease. Her father was so excited that he could barely speak. Her mother nodded eagerly. Yes, Chuyun, this boy is wonderful. From the first time I met them, I could tell they were reliable. I chuckled. What does reliable even mean? It's only reliable when the money's in place. I overheard Liu Ryan talking to her parents on the phone. Their stance was crystal clear. Get as much as possible in the bride price, and try to contribute as little as possible for the dowry. They plan to take all the money and help cover the wedding expenses. Now that I've directly promised 500,000, forget the house. Even the renovation money is covered. How could they not be thrilled? Uncle, I haven't finished speaking, I said, looking directly at Liu Ryan. Word by word, I said seriously, the current house was fully paid for by my parents. I'm planning to buy another house, a school district house, before the wedding, for our future children's education, and the house will only be in her name. After all, she's marrying me. I want to give her the greatest sense of security and the best protection. Liu Ryan was completely stunned. She stood there frozen for several seconds, before stammering, "Honey, is what you said true?" I nodded firmly. It was all just a dream I was selling, but I made it sound so real. Her parents were so overjoyed they didn't know what to say. They kept offering me more food and pouring me more wine, praising me to the skies. The whole family was immersed in a state of pure joy. None of them noticed the cold glint in my eyes. Laugh now, be as happy as you can. The higher your hopes, the greater your disappointment will be in the end. I wonder if they'll be able to handle that crushing blow. That night, Liu Ryan was uncharacteristically affectionate in bed, exceptionally enthusiastic. Unfortunately, my feelings for her had completely died. The next day, I found an excuse to have a huge argument with Liu Ryan. In the past, whenever we had disagreements or conflicts, no matter who was right or wrong, I would always apologize first. Then I'd comfort her, and eventually buy a gift to make amends. So in her mind, it was only natural that I would always back down. But this time, I refused. Liu Ryan was shocked. She probably couldn't understand. Just last night, everything was fine, and I had promised her parents I'd take good care of her. But today, we were fighting fiercely, and it was the first time I had pointed at her and angrily scolded her, ruthlessly calling out all her flaws and issues without holding back. She was utterly shocked and somewhat amused. "Xu Yunfei, you're yelling at me? You actually dared to yell at me? Yell at you? If I could right now, I'd slap you. Liu Ryan, we're getting married soon. I hope you seriously think about this too. Grow up a little. Stop being so spoiled and unreasonable," I said coldly, then slammed the door hard as I left. I started a cold war with Liu Ryan. Days went by in silence. She probably waited for me to apologize like I always did. But for the first time ever, Liu Ryan humbled herself and tried to make peace. Too bad I didn't appreciate it. I just sneered and threw a few sarcastic remarks at her. She was used to me coaxing her, and my attitude deeply wounded her pride. She immediately cursed at me, "Chu Yunfei. Keep this up if you have the guts, but don't come crying when you regret it." Liu Ryan moved in with her best friend when her parents called to try and reconcile us. This is what they relayed to me. TSK, Liu Ryan really isn't too bright. The text messages about booking a hotel room had long since been synced to the family's tablet at home. I had already staked out the hotel, waiting outside for over an hour. And sure enough, I finally saw him. Chen Jifeng sneaking in with a mask on. Heading straight for the elevator. I followed him up. Once he reached the 5th floor and entered a particular room, I pulled out my phone to send out the signal. Bro, your chance for revenge is here. Go all out. 40 minutes later, a tall guy in a leather jacket showed up with 2 guys with bleached hair. They couldn't have been more than 20 years old, each holding a baseball bat. The 3 of them headed straight for the room where Liu Ryan and Chen Jifeng were. Hello, room service. The tall guy mimicked the voice perfectly. The door opened just as expected, as soon as they saw who it was. Without a word, the tall guy swung his bat. F*** your mother. The 3 of them rushed into the room. Liu Ryan's screams pierced through the air. On the 5th floor, other guests started opening their doors. Peeking out to see what was going on, I shouted, "Room 505 is catching a cheater." Everyone perked up at that, quickly abandoning all reservations and rushing out to witness the drama unfold. I blended into the crowd, recording everything with my phone. By then, Chen Jifeng was already pinned to the ground by the 2 guys with bleached hair, and Liu Ryan looked like she had just gotten out of the shower. Her hair was wet, and she was wrapped in nothing but a bath towel, shivering in the corner, terrified. I immediately noticed the hickeys all over her chest and back. The baseball bat slammed into Chen Jifeng's back, making him scream like a pig being slaughtered. Stop, don't hit me anymore. I don't know you guys. Who the hell are you? But there was no way the 3 enraged men were going to listen to him. The louder Chen Jifeng screamed, the harder they hit him. Still got the strength to yell, huh? Hit him harder, guys. Normally, when Chen Jifeng wore a suit, he looked all polished and respectable. But now, in just his boxes, he was beaten to a pulp, face swollen and bruised. He couldn't have looked more pathetic. His survival instincts kicked in and he started begging for mercy. You've definitely got the wrong guy. Please, I'm begging you, stop hitting me. The tall guy stomped on Chen Jifeng's face. You know why we're beating you? Chen Jifeng whimpered, unable to speak. Is that woman in there your wife? Chen Jifeng, full of guilt, of course, didn't dare admit it. Meanwhile, the onlookers by the door started gossiping. That woman doesn't look like a decent one. She's got that wild look all over her face. TSK, TSK, TSK. So young, what's she doing with an older man? Must be nothing good. It's no different from selling herself. If that were my girlfriend, I'd dump her fast. Who knows when she'd cheat on you next? Liu Ryan heard every word the crowd was saying about her, her face burning with shame. She was so humiliated she wanted to die. In a weak voice, she said, I'm not his girlfriend. I don't even know him. Just admit it, are you two having an affair or not? All kinds of insults were hurled at them. When had Liu Ryan ever experienced such disgrace? She trembled with rage. We're in a normal relationship. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. The tall guy sneered. In a relationship, go ahead, call the cops. Chen Jifeng, who had been curled up on the floor groaning, immediately started struggling the moment he heard call the police. No, don't call the police. The tall guy slapped Chen Jifeng hard across the face. Why don't you tell us why we shouldn't call the cops? Chen Jifeng kept begging for mercy. The tall guy swung his arm again, landing another hard slap. Blood started gushing from Chen Jifeng's nose. I'm asking you, why can't we call the cops? Because if we call the police, Chen Jifeng's wife would definitely find out about his affair. And who knows, the story of him keeping a university student as a mistress might also come out. For a so-called successful man like Chen Jifeng, his reputation mattered more than anything. If this scandal got out, he'd be ruined. It wasn't until the hotel manager and security came up that this whole farce finally ended. The crowd, still wanting more gossip, reluctantly dispersed. I slipped away as well. That tall guy was actually the boyfriend of the university student Chen Jifeng had been supporting. I found him and showed him. the evidence I had recorded. I told him I could give him a chance to ensure the old pervert wouldn't dare call the police. Poor Chen Jifeng beaten to a pulp, and he still had no idea who was behind it all. Everything went just as I had planned. I sent the pre-written text message to Liu Ryan. Baby, I've reflected on my mistakes. I shouldn't have argued with you. We're about to get married soon. I should take responsibility as a husband to tolerate and protect you. I can't let you suffer even a little. I now deeply understand my mistakes. Please forgive me, okay? Come back soon. I really can't live without you. Love, FEI. That very night, Liu Ryan came back. Her eyes were swollen and red. Her lips pursed, silent. I put on a look of surprise, baby. I knew you'd come back. Maybe what happened the other day still weighed heavily on her, because she seemed down. She said quietly, just because I came back doesn't mean I forgive you right away. It depends on how you act. For now, we'll sleep in separate rooms. Hey, maybe she was afraid I'd noticed the marks Chen Jifeng had left on her body. I sneered internally. But on the outside, I just kept saying, okay, whatever you say. Playing along perfectly. The next day, I took her house hunting. We looked at a 3-bedroom, 2-living-room apartment, well ventilated, with a yard on the ground floor, and a rooftop terrace on the top floor. We visited 7 or 8 sales offices in a few days, viewing dozens of model homes. From beginning to end, I said only one thing. The house is for you. Whichever one you like, we'll buy that one. Liu Ryan was clearly overjoyed inside. But outwardly, she kept up her goddess-like demeanor. No matter which house we saw, she'd say, it's not quite right. Let's keep looking. Her attitude towards me remained lukewarm. And I wondered if she still couldn't forget about Chen Jifeng. Meanwhile, Chen Jifeng began to suspect her, sending her messages late at night, asking if the harassment texts sent to his wife and the hotel incident had anything to do with her. Liu Ryan was furious. In her WeChat, she lashed out at Chen Jifeng, calling him heartless. She said that because of what happened, she had suffered serious emotional and physical trauma, and yet he had the nerve to suspect her. Chen Jifeng, sounding irritated, replied, just don't contact me for a while. Be careful at work too. I'm genuinely scared. Liu Ryan exploded in anger. Chen Jifeng, get it straight. You were the one who seduced me first. Now you're acting like I've been clinging to you, refusing to let go. The two of them had a huge argument, parting on bad terms. And when Liu Ryan's mother heard that we had reconciled in the past few days, and that we were even looking at houses, she called me. Xiaofei, and he has another favor to ask. It's about Yanyan's younger brother. That job you helped him find before? Well, he's been working there for a while, but he doesn't feel it suits him. Could you help him find a new job? What the hell, do they think good jobs are just handed out like free vegetables? Have they even considered his education or skills? That job her son has right now, I had to pull a lot of strings to get him in. And now they want to just switch it like it's nothing. In the past, hearing this would have definitely annoyed me. But now, I couldn't care less. Another promise, another show. Auntie, don't worry about this. I'll handle it. Xiaofei, Annie was afraid it might be a bit difficult for you. If you manage to pull this off, our whole family will be forever grateful. I chuckled softly. She knows it's a burden, yet still has the nerve to ask. With utmost sincerity, I said, Auntie, Yanyan and I are about to get married. Her brother is my brother. We're family, so no need for formalities. Her mother was overjoyed. Yes, we're all one family. After 2 weeks of house hunting with Liu Ryan, we finally decided on a new development by a major real estate company. She was finally happy again. It seemed the scandal of being caught with Chen Jifeng in the hotel was starting to fade. Hubby, there's a big exhibition at my company this Saturday. After it ends in the afternoon, can you come pick me up? And don't forget, we've got that house opening on Sunday. We need to go early or the good floors will be taken. Liu Ryan eagerly mapped out our weekend plans. I smirked. This Saturday was going to be the most unforgettable day of Liu Ryan's life. Early Saturday morning, I drove her to the exhibition venue. After she went inside, I didn't leave right away. Since Liu Ryan had a good image, her company had chosen her to be the face of the event. At the exhibition, she was responsible for introducing and explaining things to the clients. Meanwhile, Chen Jifeng, as the company's manager, was also present at the event. When the two saw each other, they pretended nothing was out of the ordinary. Carefully avoiding each other, I secretly snapped a photo of Chen Jifeng. A quick glance showed that at least half of his company's staff was at the event today. Perfect, this play wouldn't be exciting if there weren't enough audience members. Using the same phone number as before, I sent a message to Chen Jifeng's wife. Old Hig, he doesn't love you anymore. Do you know that? He and I are true love. When he holds me, he says your chest is flat, your waist thick, and you're boring. I honestly feel sorry for you. If I were you, I'd file for divorce and step aside. Immediately after, I sent her a voice recording. A conversation between Chen Jifeng and Liu Ryan from when they were fooling around in my car. Undeniable evidence. His wife called me in a frenzy. I answered, "Who are you?" I could hear from her voice that she was on the verge of exploding with rage. I hung up, then sent her the photo I had just taken of Chen Jifeng, with a message, "Surprised, aren't you? I see Manager Chen every day. Oh, by the way, just so you know, he'll be home late tonight. Or maybe he won't come home at all. Let me think. Should we stay in the car today? Or go to a hotel?" It's absolutely arrogant. No woman could stay calm after receiving such a taunting message from the mistress. Today, Liu Ryan was dressed in a light purple business suit, with a pencil skirt that perfectly accentuated her figure. She stood confidently on stage introducing the product, basking in the admiring and astonished gazes from the audience. A polite smile graced her lips, but there was a hint of something else in her eyes. Suddenly, a figure rushed onto the stage and slapped her hard across the face. Liu Ryan was caught completely off guard, stumbling from the force of the hit, almost losing her balance. The audience gasped in shock. "Are you Liu Ryan?" A furious middle-aged woman stood before her and slapped her again. Liu Ryan, helpless, was grabbed by her hair and struck several more times on the face and neck. She screamed, trying to retreat, but her high heels got tangled in a wire, nearly causing her to fall and expose herself. Meanwhile, Chen Jifeng was frozen in place, as if rooted to the spot, completely stunned, unable to move. It was only then that the crowd reacted, rushing up to pull the enraged woman away. The woman, still fuming, continued to hurl insults with a vicious expression on her face. "Slut! Are you proud of being a homewrecker? How dare you seduce my husband?" Liu Ryan's hair was disheveled, her left cheek swollen and red. After being helped up, she angrily sobbed, "You're the real slut. I don't even know you." A few of her close colleagues stepped in, supporting her. "Yeah. How could you just come up here and hit someone without knowing the facts? Ryan already has a boyfriend. We're about to get married. How could she be a mistress? Ryan, call the police." An older woman, who seemed to know Chen Jifeng's wife, hesitated and said, "Sister Zhang, you must be mistaken about Ryan. She barely even speaks to Manager Chen at work." Chen Jifeng's wife angrily shouted, "Mistaken, my ass. You slut, weren't you acting all high and mighty just now? Now you're pretending? Pretend all you want, but you know what you've done." Another person stepped forward to calm things down. "Sister Zhang, regardless of what's going on, this is a company exhibition. It'd be better to resolve this privately." But Chen Jifeng's wife wasn't having it. She looked around and shouted, "Chen Jifeng, where are you? Get out here." At this point, Chen Jifeng could no longer hide. Blushing with embarrassment, he walked over to his wife. "Wife, let's talk about this at home." His wife turned and slapped him hard across the face. Screw that. You're going to explain everything right here and now. What exactly is going on between you and this woman? Chen Jifeng looked mortified. It was then that Liu Ryan finally realized the woman who had just beaten her was none other than Chen Jifeng's wife. By now, people in the exhibition hall were all gathering around. Company colleagues, senior leaders, and important clients. Everyone was staring at Chen Jifeng. Small groups whispered among themselves. The scene was quickly getting out of control. Chen Jifeng looked like he was about to drop to his knees in front of his wife. Wife, you've really got it wrong. I have never wronged you. There's really nothing between her and me. Still lying, huh? Come on, look for yourself. His wife shoved the phone in his face. When Chen Jifeng saw the messages, his expression changed immediately. Wife, I swear I'm innocent. You don't know how shameless this woman is. She's the one who seduced me first. I didn't do anything. She's just holding a grudge and trying to stir things up between us. Liu Ryan suddenly lifted her head, looking at Chen Jifeng in utter disbelief. Chen Jifeng continued to vilify her. This shameless woman has been harassing me ever since she joined the company. I've rejected her many times. For the sake of saving face, I didn't expose her at the company. But I never imagined that my kindness would encourage her to go further. I never expected this. Chen Jifeng's words sounded grand and noble, making himself look completely innocent. Meanwhile, Liu Ryan was painted as a despicable woman using every trick to seduce a colleague. And since Chen Jifeng had always played the role of a gentleman, everyone who knew him believed he was a respectable man. Naturally, they found his words more trustworthy. The few people who had spoken up for Liu Ryan earlier now stood there awkwardly, quietly distancing themselves from her. One by one, they subtly moved away. Liu Ryan was still in shock, staring blankly at Chen Jifeng. Chen Jifeng turned to beg his wife. Wife, I'm begging you. Let's go home and talk, okay? Today's a very important event for the company. This company event cannot be ruined because of my personal matters. Chen Jifeng's wife, with a face ashen with rage, began to calm down, choosing not to cause further chaos. Chen Jifeng, you bastard. You were the one who told me you had no feelings for your wife. You were the one constantly harassing me. Before Liu Ryan could finish, Chen Jifeng slapped her hard, knocking her to the ground. No one saw that coming. Everyone stood there in shock. Liu Ryan's face was a complete mess. This couple's slaps had all landed squarely on her. This is my final warning to you. The only person I have ever truly loved is my wife. Who do you think you are? How could you ever compare to her? If you keep pestering me, I won't let you off. Chen Jifeng shot her a look of utter disgust, grabbed his wife's hand, and tried to leave. Chen Jifeng, you've pushed me too far. Liu Ryan finally snapped, screaming in front of everyone. Do you all know that? Chen Jifeng has been secretly taking kickbacks from the suppliers behind the company's back. He's also been bad-mouthing everyone here in private. He says manager Liu is uneducated and that all he's good for is smoking, drinking, and giving out orders that make no sense. He claims the secretary only got her position through nepotism. He says the marketing team is full of useless freeloaders. And he mocks the HR team, saying they're nothing but pretentious show-offs, acting like big shots all the time. He even says the development team is just a bunch of lazy good-for-nothings who take money without doing any real work. Unbelievable. Even I didn't expect such a performance from Liu Ryan. Chen Jifeng's face went pale, his mouth twitching uncontrollably. You're talking absolute nonsense. But Liu Ryan had already thrown all caution to the wind. Chen Jifeng, on the other hand, wasn't in the same position. He was a senior figure in the company, a leader respected by his subordinates. Now, with his wife causing a scene at the company's exhibition, he had lost all face in front of everyone. And Liu Ryan had just dropped a bombshell that made it even worse. It was unimaginable how he could ever face the company again. This was simply too brilliant. Satisfied, I quietly left the scene early. After all, I had another show to personally arrange. My final gift to Liu Ryan. At the scheduled time in the afternoon, I called Liu Ryan. She told me that the company had made other arrangements for her, and the finishing time was uncertain. She said she would take a taxi home by herself later. I said, all right. Make sure to come back early. Stay safe. At 9 p.m., my living room was packed with people. Liu Ryan's parents, her younger brother, her best friend, her high school classmates, her university roommates, her uncle, her aunt. Basically, anyone I could invite, I had called over. Liu Ryan's mother, proudly showing off to the relatives, boasted that the house had already been chosen and the two of them would be putting down the deposit tomorrow. Yannian is truly blessed, and you too, big brother and sister-in-law, are so fortunate. I smiled lightly and said, Auntie, there's one more thing I almost forgot to tell you. My friend's father has a company with great benefits. My friend said because of me, he'll definitely get Yannian's brother a job. Xiaofei, really? Oh, that's wonderful. I knew you could pull it off. Liu Ryan's parents were grinning from ear to ear, and everyone else looked on with envy. Just then, the sound of the door's password lock being unlocked echoed from outside. I motioned for everyone to be quiet, then turned off the lights. When Liu Ryan stepped inside, she was greeted by a dining table bathed in candlelight, covered with rose petals. On the wall beside it, balloons spelled out "Marry Me." Soft, beautiful music was playing through the speakers, and there I was, holding a 1-carat diamond ring, kneeling on one knee. Baby, will you marry me? Liu Ryan was completely stunned. I was close enough to see the redness and swelling still lingering on her face. Even though she had tried to cover it with thick makeup, she looked quite worn out. I gestured to the people behind me. Click, the lights came on. Everyone shouted in unison, say yes. Liu Ryan was even more shocked. Mom, Dad, what are you doing here? And Yannian, hurry, say yes. Seeing her standing there in a daze, everyone started urging her. I continued with my heartfelt speech. Liu Ryan, you've stolen Chu Yunfei's heart. You've made him restless, unable to eat or sleep. This is an unforgivable crime, and now I sentence you to be with him for life. Your punishment is a lifetime together. My overly sentimental words left Liu Ryan deeply moved, tears rolling down her cheeks as she covered her mouth. After being completely heartbroken by an affair with an outsider, she returned home only to find warmth from a foolishly generous, seemingly sincere man. The emotional highs and lows of the day had utterly shattered Liu Ryan's defenses. At last, she nodded. Just then, I took my phone off silent mode. The ringtone broke the moment's atmosphere, sounding out at the worst possible time. I pulled out my phone. Seeing the message displayed on the screen, my expression changed. Her father quietly whispered a reminder. Xiaofei, now's not the time to be looking at your phone. Nonsense, now is exactly the right time. I ignored him and opened the video on my phone. Of course, I didn't forget to turn the volume up as loud as possible, making sure everyone in the room could hear it. I'm not his girlfriend. I don't even know him. Just admit it. Are you two having an affair? We're in a normal relationship. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. Go ahead, call them then. No, you can't call the police. Liu Ryan, standing right across from me, saw the video on my phone screen more clearly than anyone else. In an instant, the color drained from her face. Everyone standing nearby also caught a glimpse. I looked at Liu Ryan in disbelief. What is this? Liu Ryan, panic-stricken, stared back at me, wanting to say something, but no words came out. Her mother, sensing something was off, rushed over and snatched my phone away. When her mother saw her daughter wrapped only in a towel with a disheveled middle-aged man in a hotel room, she nearly collapsed, her brow furrowing deeper and deeper. The room fell into complete silence. making the voices from the phone even more painfully clear. That woman doesn't look innocent. She's got that wild, trashy look on her face. TSK, so young. And with an old man like that? What a disgrace. It's no different from being a prostitute. Liu Ryan's face turned pale as ashes, her shame and anger overwhelming her. Her relatives, friends, and classmates all quickly made excuses and quietly left, leaving only her parents and brother behind. Her brother was the first to speak, cutting straight to the point. "Who's that guy? He looks at least 40. Geez, your taste is way too weird." His mother kicked him, telling him to shut up. I took a deep breath and said, "I recognize him. He works at your company, right?" Liu Ryan lowered her head even further. "Ever since I found that pair of stockings in my car, I've wanted to ask you this. I've held it in for days. But today, I can finally ask you face to face." Liu Ryan bit her lip, still refusing to speak, but the slight trembling of her fingers betrayed the panic inside her. "Answer me why?" I shouted in anger. Liu Ryan flinched, tears immediately spilling from her eyes. Her father, unable to contain himself, cursed, "You worthless thing. How do you even have the face to cry? You've disgraced the whole Liu family. Xiaofei hasn't treated you well? Are you short on money?" I felt utterly disheartened. I had been so excited preparing our wedding, thinking only of how to give you the best day possible. But now, it seems like it was all just my wishful thinking. Liu Ryan covered her mouth, shaking her head. No, it's not like that." I raised the diamond ring and without any hesitation, threw it out from the balcony. "Xiaofei, why are you doing this? Why throw away something so valuable?" Liu Ryan's parents' faces changed, both clearly pained by the loss of the large diamond ring. But I didn't feel a thing. After all, it was just a prop I bought on Pinduoduo for 20 yuan. "Liu Ryan, we're done." Liu Ryan's body trembled. She grabbed onto my sleeve. "Hubby, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Don't be so heartless. I'll accept your proposal, okay?" I shook her hand off. I never expected the once proud Liu Ryan to kneel in front of me. "Hubby, I beg you. Please don't leave me. I swear it only happened that one time. I'll never see him again. I'll quit my job tomorrow." Even Liu Ryan's father chimed in. "Xiaofei, this foolish girl has wronged you. Hit her if you must. Curse her if you need to. But you've been together for so long. You're about to get married. Please don't make any rash decisions in the heat of the moment. Are you joking? You want me to just sit back and be a fool?" I rubbed my temples. "Uncle. Auntie ... Please, all of you, just leave. I need some time alone to think." With that, I went upstairs to the bedroom and locked the door behind me. No matter how much Liu Ryan pleaded outside, I didn't open the door. Her brother, clueless as ever, loudly asked in the living room, "Mom, what about my job? Can my brother-in-law still help me get it? And what about the house my sister picked out? Isn't the opening tomorrow?" Their mother, suddenly irritated, snapped, "Will you shut up for once?" Her father sighed. Everything was going so well. What a mess this has become. Keep dreaming, I thought to myself. The 500,000 yuan bride price, the school district house, the high-paying job. All of it vanished the moment Liu Ryan's affair was exposed. After a moment of silence, Liu Ryan's father grabbed a belt and started beating her brother. "I'll teach you, you shameless idiot." There was the sound of furniture crashing in the living room, accompanied by Liu Ryan's sobs and her father's curses. I put in my earplugs, and finally, with no other choice, they all left. That night, Liu Ryan sent me endless messages, long and emotional. She recounted how we met, reminiscing about our relationship from the beginning, talking about how good I had been to her, how deeply in love she had been with me back then. She cried over the 2 years we had spent together, claiming she truly cared. She said she couldn't live without me. Couldn't live without me, more like she couldn't live without my money. I replied, "What if I still agreed to marry you now? but with no bride price, no house, and none of the promises I made before? Would you still want to marry me? Liu Ryan thought there was hope. She replied instantly, full of excitement, I'm willing as long as I can be with you. I'll do anything. I let out a cold laugh, sorry. But I'm not willing. Even if you offered me everything, I still wouldn't marry you. I don't want to spend the rest of my life looking at you and being reminded of that old man. Her parents came to see me several more times, bringing gifts and begging me not to be so heartless. They told me Liu Ryan had stopped eating, and that she was even on a hunger strike. I gave them Chen Jifeng's phone number and home address. After all, they had some sort of relationship. He was her boss and mentor. Surely he could comfort her. Go find him, I said. On Chen Jifeng's side, his wife was making things even worse, not only demanding a divorce, but also insisting that he leave with nothing. She wouldn't even let him see their kids. Chen Jifeng was overwhelmed, dealing with his wife while facing gossip at the company. In the end, he had no choice but to pack up and leave. But the company wasn't going to let him off so easily. They were investigating the kickbacks he took, and there was a high chance he might end up in prison. As for Liu Ryan, she couldn't bear to show her face at the company anymore. She resigned online, without even completing her handover. And as for that day's proposal, her classmates, friends, and relatives were all there. As the saying goes, good news travels slowly, but bad news travels fast. Her reputation was now utterly ruined in her social circle. I heard her parents scold her every day at home. Even her brother started complaining about her constantly. I changed the password lock on my door and packed up all of Liu Ryan's belongings. I hired a delivery service to send everything back to her home. With that, I completely cut ties with Liu Ryan. I didn't expect her to still have the nerve to come looking for me. She cornered me in the underground parking lot, tearfully confessing her guilt and longing over the past few weeks. She said she truly loved me and deeply regretted her actions. She begged me to forgive her for what she claimed was a one-time mistake. I had to admire her shamelessness. I gave a small laugh and said one thing. That's stalking. I saw it. At first, Liu Ryan didn't seem to get it. The stalking in my car. Don't even try to deny it. Even a walking ATM has its limits. Liu Ryan, you're truly despicable. Her pupils shrank in shock. I got into my car and drove off. In the rearview mirror, I saw her collapse onto the ground, as if all the strength had been drained from her body. 6 months later, friends started arranging blind dates for me. One friend told me that Liu Ryan was now going on blind dates almost every day. Her standards were incredibly high. She demanded a house and a car, and insisted the man buy another house under her name. Her parents required that for marriage, the groom's family must pay 500,000 yuan in bride price. What is she made of diamonds to make such demands? I laughed. It seemed the dream I had painted 6 months ago was still lingering in their minds. They were still chasing after impossible dreams. But these have nothing to do with me.